Today I'd like to share a few of my thoughts on the strange, puzzling, enigmatic, tragic case of Randy Stair, a young man, 24 years of age, who approximately 4 years ago, it's a little bit past the day of when this happened, I think it was June the 9th, 2017, when it actually took place. He massacred 3 of his fellow workers at an ICE grocery store and in Pennsylvania, and then committed suicide himself. Why did he do it? Well, there are several videos about it that you can watch, and that I'll provide the links to a couple of them, a couple of the ones that I found to be the most helpful. But I really felt the need to weigh in on this case, just because for a couple of reasons. First of all, anytime I come across a case like this, involving a person who is just at a point of desperation, who feels alienated from humanity, who feels alienated from life in general, I'm always interested in cases like that. It's not to say that I condone the actions of Randy Stair. I, of course, do not. And I don't condone what anyone else who is in this extreme state of mind, which may be psychosis, or it may be something else. And I wanted to explore that a little bit. But anyway, I do feel that, in a way, people like Randy Stair and Sol Paez, who I discussed quite a bit on my old channel, but those videos aren't around anymore since YouTube nuked my old channel. But they might still be up on my BitChute channel. I'm not sure. I posted some things. Some of the things I posted at YouTube, I backed them up at BitChute, but BitChute is so slow and so unreliable that a lot of the times I just sort of said fuck it and didn't do so. Anyhow, maybe I'll do a Sol Paez update sometime soon as well. But people like that, people like Randy Stair, people like Sol Paez, and others of their ilk, I feel that I'm one of them. I feel like we have a lot in common. I feel like, in a way, they are my people, and I know that makes me seem pretty frightening. I'm well aware of that, but I'm here to acknowledge that I am someone who at times feels a real divide between myself and humanity, and at times feel very, very alone and very isolated and very alienated. It's just part of my day-to-day existence. It's worse on some days than on other days, of course. Some days I really actually do feel connected. But other days, and lately, I've got to be honest, the last few days, it's I've been in a trough. So whilst I was in this trough, I sort of took the time to look into Randy Stair and his case a little bit more. What became of him? I'm not going to reiterate all the facts and details of his case, although it's, I recommend that if you are more interested in those things, that you look up a couple of videos that I'm going to post below to see more of something more than the thumbnail sketch I'm going to give. But in essence, Randy Stair was someone who had a channel on YouTube that he had he had two different channels, I believe. He had one channel that he was where he was doing like creative stuff like skits and I don't know, maybe some of it was supposed to be darkly humorous. I don't think that material is available anymore, but maybe it is. But he had a couple of he had like a rubber frog, and I don't know, some other make-believe being that he would use for skits and sketches, and he actually did some things with other people on YouTube during this period of time, starting sometime in the late aughts, leading up through 2015 or so. Now in 2015, I believe it was around 2015, he took a radical shift. All right. I think he was always someone who was, again, plagued with feelings of, as I said, alienation, of disconnection, of, what's the word that I'm looking for? Of feeling not a part of things, just generally speaking, feeling like he doesn't belong here. I think that feeling, that sensation, that emotion was always a part of this young man's mental makeup during his adolescence, during his late adolescence and early adulthood. So he graduated high school during the he started off when I think he was in maybe 10th grade or so, I don't know, really young. Started off making these YouTube videos, and then in 2015 he had this what he felt to be this revelation. And to us it might sound comically absurd what happened to him, what he reports happening to him. There was a Nickelodeon a cartoon show called Danny Phantom. And on that show is a character named Ember. Ember, the show, as I understand it, I've never seen it, but the show is about a boy who is, I think, half human, half ghost, something like that. And there are a bunch of other characters who are in the same state, and I think it's kind of supposed to be funny. It's a pretty weird premise for a show, and I don't discount MK Ultra programming, given certain weirdnesses that and given that this is television. Nickelodeon, everything is plugged in to the deep, dark people who run the show that we call the world. So there's still innocent and innocuous stuff out there, but there's also stuff that might appear innocuous, but you scratch the surface and it's pretty weird and pretty bizarre and pretty disturbing. So Randy fell in love with this cartoon character named Ember. Ember was this kind of beautiful, sexy cartoon character. Like a sort of, I would describe her as maybe like a 20-year-old girl or thereabouts, with green hair that looks like fire. It looks like it lights up like it's fire. And she plays in a rock band, and she has a song that's her anthem. And Danny said Randy Randy said that while when he first came across her, and he came across this song of hers, that he listened to the song over and over and over and over again, hundreds of times, that he felt he could relate to her, he felt that she could relate to him, he felt that they were soulmates, he and this cartoon ghost girl named Ember. And so Ember played a huge role in his life after that, and Ember apparently commanded him to get rid of his old channel and to kill off the characters that he had been using on his old channel. So there's actual footage. I don't know if this is footage you can find out there, on its own, but there's another documentary, Coffee House Crime, I think is the name of the YouTuber. I'm not. It might be a little different anyway. That name might be slightly off with the name, but he has a pretty good, pretty informative piece on the case of Randy Stairs, and so he shows footage of this moment where she's standing there looming in the background, and he's using his special effects to make her be there. This character from this other show that he's now adapting to be part of his own creative universe, and he's stabbing his frog to death, and it's actually a very disturbing scene. It's not a real frog, but there's something about how, the frog asks, "Why are you doing this?" And he says, "Because she told me to." And we see the looming image of Ember right there, and so he kills off his make-believe buddies from this other show, and then he begins, in around 2015, I believe, making, maybe a little earlier, maybe 2014, I'm still not totally sure on all the timeline, but he begins making this other YouTube channel called Ember Ghost Squad, and he has all these other, so Ember is in this show, and there's all these, and he begins, doing, I guess, crude cartoon work. Not crude in the sense that I could do better. I'm not saying that to put it down, but just like, he was limited to what he had. He didn't have the budget of, of a network like Nickelodeon or anything like that. But he created this new show called Ember Ghost Squad, and everyone on the show were ghost girls. And eventually, he came to believe that he needed to sacrifice himself, that he needed to die in order to, and that when he died, he was convinced he would reach this world, this ghost world, and he'd be able to be with Ember, his first, who he described as his first crush, and that he would become one of the ghost girls. In fact, I don't really think, there's lots of people who study the case who think he was, talking about transitioning from male to female, but and it's true that he began, wearing his mother's underwear or things like that. But in my frame of reference, he was always a heterosexual male, and he had a crush on this girl, and he came to believe, he made up all these other girls and came to believe that it was better to be a girl, and that he would become a girl in the next life after he ended his own life. and that this was a sacrifice that Ember was asking him to make. So once again, just like we saw earlier, with the end of his first show, where Ember has him kill off his make-believe friends in a gruesome manner. And it's make-believe, but it's still gruesome. It's still disturbing, and the fact that, you know, she has assumed this kind of role where she's, you know, got control of his mind, and she's convincing him of doing these things, is disturbing, and it's also disturbing in what it foreshadows, the real life tragedy that it foreshadows. So eventually, Randy Stair, who comes to call himself Andrew Blaze because he hates his real name, he hates himself, he hates the way he looks, he doesn't feel connected with who he is or how he looks or his family or anything about himself or anything about you know, the way that he was created. He wants to become, he believes that he truly is someone totally different. He wants to become that person, and he believes that the way that can be done is by following Ember's command to end his own life, and then he'll become part of this ghost world that he created. So on one occasion, he flips a coin because he wants to see whether Ember wants him to just kill himself at home and only himself, or if she wants him to kill his co-workers at work. He works at a grocery store stocking items, so the deal is it's a best of 5 coin tosses. Tails means that it's a work. He needs to carry out this massacre at work before killing himself, and heads means he just kills himself at home. And unfortunately, the you know, three times out of 5, the coin lands on tails. So he becomes convinced that that's the way to go out, and he becomes convinced that the necessary sacrifices to get to where he needs to go are to kill his co-workers. So I want to just talk about a couple more things with regard to this whole story. First of all, when you actually hear Randy/Andrew speak, to me, there's a video that's been re-uploaded. Is the last video he ever recorded, where he's sitting in his car. Oh my God! He was sitting in his car. What are you doing, Nowicki? You're sitting in your car. You said you felt like he was one of your people. Oh my God! What are you gonna do? What are you gonna end up doing? No. I actually think killing people is wrong. But so I'm a little more tethered than Randy was, morally tethered. But anyway, he sounds just like a normal kid so much of the time. He sounds like a gawky. You know, if you watch this video, and I'll link to it, and it's long, so I wouldn't blame you if you don't watch it from beginning to end, certainly, or if you just watch a few minutes of it. He doesn't come across as a raging, raving psycho lunatic. He seems like someone who's just really sad and depressed, and in some ways mystified by what he's going to, you know, by the course of action that he feels has been chosen for him. And he says it's all over a cartoon character. Like he knows that it sounds absurd. He knows that It's not like, it's like he's got one foot in reality and 1 foot outside of it. He believes enough in Ember's reality, in the reality of Ember as an actual entity who is commanding him to do these things. But he's also got 1 foot in reality, to the extent where he says, this is so absurd. This all feels so absurd. We're talking about a cartoon character here, a two-dimensional, flat cartoon character. He's 24, but I mean, he looks like he could be 17 or 18. He looks so young. But anyway, he's convinced that this is what he has to do, and that people aren't gonna, he's convinced that the people who he's gonna kill just are necessary deaths, and that it's not, there's nothing. This is just what was meant to happen. There's nothing wrong with it. It was just nothing morally bad about it. It's just his fate. We all have fate. We all have to end up doing what we're fated to do, and so he's very fatalistic about it all. So I want to suggest something in the last few minutes that I have here in this video about this case, and I want to suggest, and what I'm doing is only a suggestion. It's no more than a suggestion, because I don't claim to know these things. But I've studied the role of the demonic. I believe that demons exist. I don't think that every case of mental illness is a case of the demonic. Far from it. I do think we should be credulous, and we shouldn't be credulous, I should say. We should be skeptical and discerning about what we take to be possibly an instance of the demonic versus something else, versus just psychosis or other sort of mental illness. But what was strange to me about this final video, again, is that he seemed like he was aware of how strange it was, of how bizarre it was. I don't know, and it seems like mentally ill people wouldn't be aware of how bizarre something like this is. They would be they'd be so in their own world that they would be it would just be reality to them. But Randy was able to communicate how strange it was, how